to the ones they thought would stay broken. Look at you now. They said you changed. Of course you changed. What did they expect? That after the lies, the silence, the mixed signals, the disrespect, the late replies, the cold switch up, the fake promises, the way they made you question your own worth, you were supposed to stay the same? No, that version of you had to die. And that is what they can't explain to people. That is why your old ghost is out there talking. That is why your name still shows up in rooms you do not even walk into anymore. That is why people keep hearing that little line. Something's different about them. Yeah, everything is different now. Because pain did not finish you. It introduced you to yourself. See, people love the old version of you when that version is easier to manage. The softer version, the more available version, the one who kept checking in, the one who gave second chances like they were free, the one who stayed too long, the one who explained too much, the one who forgave stuff that should have ended everything, the one who bent until breaking just to keep the peace. That version made everybody comfortable, especially the one who lost you, because when you are always the understanding one, people get real casual with your heart. They start acting like your loyalty is just part of the furniture. They start assuming your love has no limit. They start believing they can disappear, come back, disrespect you, confuse you, drain you, and somehow still have access to you like nothing happened. And that is where they messed up. Because one day, something in you got tired, in a way sleep could not fix. Not fake tired, not dramatic tired. I'm talking soul tired. The kind of tired that shows up when you've poured and poured and poured into somebody who kept handing you an empty cup back. The kind of tired that hits when you finally realize you are being loved in fractions while giving people your full weight. The kind of tired that makes you sit in silence and say, hold on. So this is what I've been shrinking myself for. That moment changes people. That moment changes your eyes, your energy, your standards, your tolerance, your patience, your whole frequency. And from the outside, they call it attitude. From the inside, it is survival. They say you got cold. They say you got distant. They say you got hard to reach. They say you are not as easy anymore. Good. You were never supposed to stay easy after learning everything the hard way. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You used to answer instantly. Now you look at the phone and think, I owe nobody immediate access to my peace. You used to over-explain yourself because you were scared to be misunderstood. Now you let people misunderstand you and keep walking. You used to chase closure. Now you understand closure is not always a conversation. Sometimes closure is seeing the pattern clearly one last time and refusing to bleed there again. That is growth. Messy growth. Painful growth. Lonely growth. But still growth. And that is the part nobody talks about enough. Glow-ups are not always glamorous in real time. People see the polished version later. They see the confidence. They see the new discipline. They see the boundaries. They see the body changing, the style changing, the mindset changing, the habits changing, the way you speak changing. They see the calm. They see the presence. They see the glow. But they did not see the breakdown that built it. They did not see the nights when you stared at the ceiling replaying every word, every red flag, every moment you ignored your own intuition because you wanted the story to end differently. They did not see you fighting the urge to text somebody who only ever made you feel chosen when it was convenient. They did not see you learning how to sit with the ache, instead of running back to the thing that caused it. They did not see you rebuilding your self-respect, one brutal decision at a time. They just see the result. And now your old ghost is confused, not because you changed, because they thought they had more time with the old you. That is what really haunts people. It is not always losing you. It is realizing the version of you they had access to no longer exists. That version is gone. Gone. The one who tolerated crumbs. Gone. The one who needed validation from the same hands that created the wound. Gone. The one who thought being chosen by the wrong person meant something about their value. Gone. The one who kept trying to prove they were enough to somebody committed to misunderstanding them. Gone. You buried that version with your own hands. And let me tell you something dark, something real. The people who had the most access to your softness are usually the most shocked by your boundaries, because boundaries expose who was benefiting from your lack of them. Read that again in your soul. The moment you stop overgiving, the users call you selfish. The moment you stop chasing, the neglectful call you distant. The moment you become harder to manipulate, the careless call you changed. The moment you start protecting your energy, the people who fed off it start acting like you became the villain. That is how you know the glow-up is real. Not when everybody claps for it, when the wrong people feel uncomfortable around it, because your transformation will always offend the version of people that profited from your self-abandonment. And some of you still feel guilty for becoming sharper. Stop that. Stop apologizing for healing in a way that no longer entertains nonsense. Stop feeling bad because you do not laugh at disrespect anymore. Stop second-guessing yourself because you no longer let charm override consistency. Stop shrinking because your standards got heavy. You did not become too much. You finally stopped being too little for yourself. That is a huge difference, and your old ghost can feel it. They can hear it in the way you talk now. Less explaining, more clarity. They can see it in the way you move. Less chaos, more intention. They can sense it in the way you carry silence now. Before, your silence meant pain. Now it means power. That scares people, because noise is easy to dismiss. Power in silence, that hits different, especially when they remember how they left you. Especially when they remember the version of you that was still hoping. Especially when they remember how certain they were that you would always be around in some emotional waiting room, holding space for a comeback that was never worthy of you. That is the part that burns them. You did not just survive. You detached, you redirected, you rebuilt, you got focused. You learned how to pour into yourself with the same obsession you once wasted on people who could not hold your heart correctly. And now they are hearing about you, not because you are trying to be seen, but because real growth has a presence. You do not even have to announce it. It leaks through everything. Your face changes when your spirit stops begging. Your posture changes when your worth stops being negotiable. Your decisions change when loneliness no longer scares you into bad company. Your whole life starts shifting when you finally realize peace is more attractive than attention. That is why they keep saying, something's different. They are right. You are no longer starving for what nearly killed you. That changes a person. A lot of people talk about revenge like it has to be loud, like it has to be public, like it has to be some dramatic speech, some flex, some fake happiness posted for effect. No. The darkest revenge is internal. It is when the person who broke you can no longer reach the version of you that would have broken for them. It is when your healing becomes irreversible. It is when your discipline outgrows your desire to go back. It is when they are still telling the story of who you used to be, while you are already 10 levels ahead, mentally somewhere they cannot even follow. That is a different kind of victory, a clean one, a quiet one, a dangerous one, because the scariest person in the room is not the loudest. It is the one who learned from everything and now moves with intention. You know what losing them really gave you? Vision. Before, you were trying to force what was fading. You were trying to decode behavior that was already giving you the answer. You were trying to rescue situations that should have been allowed to collapse. Now you see energy before words. You see effort before excuses. You see patterns before promises. You see inconsistency for what it is the first time, not the 15th. That is expensive wisdom. That cost you something. It cost tears, sleep, trust, time, hope, illusions. So no, you are not crazy for protecting it. People will say, you changed. Smile, because they are finally noticing the price you paid to become somebody nobody gets to play with twice. That is not bitterness. That is discernment. That is not arrogance. That is self-respect. That is not ego. That is recovery. And let us talk about recovery for real. Recovery is ugly before it becomes beautiful. Recovery looks like not texting back, even though your chest is tight. Recovery looks like deleting the message instead of sending it. Recovery looks like crying and still keeping the boundary. Recovery looks like going to work, handling responsibilities, answering nobody about your inner war, and still deciding that your life will not end because one chapter betrayed you. Recovery looks like relearning yourself when so much of your identity got wrapped around being needed by someone who never knew how to hold you. That is warrior work. That is not soft little self-help quote stuff. That is war. Internal war. The kind where you fight the version of yourself that still wants familiarity, even when familiarity was toxic. The kind where you have to admit that missing somebody is not proof they were good for you. The kind where you have to separate chemistry from safety, attention from care, words from action, potential from reality. That battle right there, that one makes monsters out of survivors, beautiful monsters, disciplined monsters, self-respecting monsters, the kind that never again confuse almost love with destiny. And that is why your old ghost keeps talking, because people notice when somebody escapes a cycle they were supposed to stay trapped in. That is what really bothers them. Not that you are doing better. That you are doing better without needing their apology, their validation, their explanation, or their return. That is elite healing. When you stop needing the person who hurt you to help you heal from what they did. That is when the power comes back. That is when your eyes stop asking. That is when your presence gets heavier. That is when you walk into rooms and people feel a shift they cannot quite explain, because now your energy says something simple. I know what I survived. I know what it cost, and I know better than to go backwards. Do you understand how rare that is? Most people stay emotionally available to the same patterns for years. Same type, same disrespect, same excuses, same almost, same confusion packaged in a new face, but not you. You got tired of paying emotional rent in broken places. You got tired of auditioning for a role in somebody else's half-hearted story. You got tired of pretending breadcrumbs were enough. because you were scared of being alone. And once that switch flips, it does not really flip back. That is why even your peace looks different now. You do not entertain what drains you. You do not chase what is unclear. You do not force what is not mutual. You do not beg for bare minimum. You do not romanticize inconsistency. You do not make excuses for energy that feels off. You listen faster now, not to what they say, to what your spirit says when they are around. That inner tension, that small anxiety, that gut feeling, that little shift in your chest when something feels fake. You used to silence that voice. Never again. Because that voice was trying to save you long before your mind was ready to accept the truth. And now that you listen to it, your life is changing. The people around you are changing. Your habits are changing. Your standards are changing. Your circle is changing. Even your goals are changing because pain forced you to stop living for attachment and start living for alignment. That is a real glow up, not just looking better, thinking better, choosing better, leaving faster, trusting yourself deeper, needing less noise, wanting more substance, protecting your energy like it is luxury because it is. See, some people thought your kindness meant weakness. Big mistake. Your kindness was never weakness. It was just misplaced wealth. You were rich in loyalty, rich in patience, rich in forgiveness, rich in depth, and you were giving all that gold to people with cheap intentions. Now you are wiser with your generosity. Now people have to earn access. Now not everybody gets the full version of you. Now your presence is not something people can toy with and return later when life gets lonely. That is maturity. That is what happens when pain stops being a prison and starts being a teacher. And the lesson was brutal. It taught you that not everybody who says "I got you" actually has the emotional range to hold you. It taught you that some people love the benefits of your heart, but panic at the responsibility of protecting it. It taught you that some people come into your life not to build with you, but to feed off your light until they get bored. It taught you that being wanted is not the same as being valued. And once you learn that, you move different forever. That is why they say you changed, because your hunger changed. You do not crave attention like you used to. You crave peace. You do not crave being chosen by random people. You crave alignment. You do not crave chaos disguised as chemistry. You crave consistency. You do not crave almosts. You crave truth. That kind of shift makes people from your past feel strange around you, because they can tell the old tricks will not work anymore. The little disappearing acts, the half-love, the convenient affection, the "I'm just confused" performance, the "you deserve better" speech come after wasting your time, the re-entry text when they sense you are finally moving on. That stuff used to shake you. Now it disgusts you, and that is growth nobody can fake. Because when you really level up, your desires change before your life does. You stop calling chaos exciting. You stop calling inconsistency mysterious. You stop calling emotional unavailability deep. You stop calling pain passion. You start seeing clearly. And clarity is dangerous for people who benefited from your confusion. That is why your old ghost talks. They need a story that protects their ego. So they say you changed like it is some sad thing. Like your evolution is betrayal. Like your glow-up is an attack. Like your boundaries are cruelty. But let them talk. Because deep down, they know the truth. You did not glow up because life was kind to you. You glowed up because pain backed you into a corner, and you decided that if you were going to suffer, it would at least mean something. You took heartbreak and turned it into discipline, turned abandonment into self-reliance, turned rejection into redirection, turned loneliness into self-discovery, turned disrespect into standards, turned grief into fuel. That is not normal. That is powerful. That is the kind of transformation that makes people stare at you like they missed something important. And they did. They missed the moment you stopped seeing yourself through their eyes. That was the turning point. Because as long as you see yourself through the people who hurt you, you will keep begging broken mirrors to tell you that you are beautiful. Forget that. Their inability to value you was never evidence of your lack. It was evidence of their limitation. Some people are simply too emotionally undeveloped to recognize what they had in front of them. Too distracted, too selfish, too immature, too wounded, too addicted to surface-level nonsense to understand what depth actually looks like. And that is not your burden anymore. You are not here to teach people how to appreciate you. You are here to stop offering yourself where appreciation has to be begged for. That changes everything. Because once you stop begging, your aura changes. Once you stop chasing, your worth gets louder. Once you stop abandoning yourself for connection, your whole life starts rearranging around your self-respect. That is why people say your vibe is different. It is. You are no longer negotiating your soul down to fit into places that were too small for you. You are no longer entertaining emotional tourists. You are no longer available for temporary people with permanent damage. You are no longer letting your empathy be used as an entry point for manipulation. You learned, and it cost enough that you are not interested in repeating the lesson. That is why your peace looks expensive now. That is why your no hits harder now. That is why your absence feels louder now. Because your energy used to be easy to access. Now it is earned, and not everybody can afford it. That is what losing them gave you. It gave you the courage to become selective. That sounds simple until you realize how many people spend their whole lives terrified of being selective, terrified of not being liked, terrified of being called difficult, terrified of being alone, terrified of walking away, terrified of disappointing people who were never that concerned about disappointing them. But you crossed that line. Now you know being alone is not the worst thing. Betraying yourself is. That realization is a weapon. Because once you know your own company is safer than fake love, the game changes. Now desperation leaves your body. Now your standards stop shaking. Now your decisions stop sounding like panic. Now you can look at something attractive and still say no if it feels wrong. Now you can miss someone and still not go back. Now you can love and still leave. That is power, real power. Not image, not talk, not fake confidence on the internet. Inner power, the kind built in silence, the kind built when nobody is clapping, the kind built when every part of you wants relief, but you choose growth instead. That version of you is dangerous in the best way, because now when life tests you, you do not fold the same. You have receipts now, memory, pattern recognition, scar tissue, standards, self-trust, and self-trust. That is one of the most attractive things a person can carry, not because it looks good, because it protects you. You stop outsourcing your decisions to people who do not have to live with the consequences. You stop ignoring your instincts because somebody is charming. You stop trying to build futures with people who cannot even communicate in the present. You stop calling self-neglect love. That is a glow-up too. Maybe nobody posts about that part. Maybe it is not flashy. Maybe it does not always look exciting, but it saves lives. It saves years. It saves peace. It saves identity. And yes, it absolutely makes old ghosts nervous, because they can feel when somebody they once had access to has outgrown the emotional level they left them on. They can feel the distance. Not physical distance, spiritual distance, mental distance, emotional distance. The kind where they know that even if they came back with all the right words, it still would not touch the same, because your discernment is awake now. That is terrifying for people who built their confidence on always being able to come back. But you are not a recycling center for broken intentions anymore. You are not where confused people come to feel wanted. You are not where selfish people come to recharge. You are not where emotionally unavailable people come to play house when loneliness hits. That season is over. Now your energy belongs to purpose, to peace, to progress, to people who know how to show up with consistency, honesty, effort, and emotional maturity. And until that kind of energy arrives, you are good. Not pretending to be good, actually good. Because for the first time in a long time, your life is no longer built around who stayed and who left. It is built around who you became. That is a massive shift. You used to measure your worth by attachment. Now you measure your life by alignment. You used to think losing them meant losing something valuable. Now you see losing them revealed something valuable. You, your discipline, your resilience, your standards, your mind, your ability to rise, your ability to heal without becoming hollow, your ability to become sharper without becoming evil. Welcome, you beautiful glitch in the system. Yeah, you. Not the polished, approved, watered-down version that everyone can digest without choking. The real you. The one that makes people uncomfortable because you don't fit neatly into their little categories. Because listen, this is what they do. The AI people run the numbers and squint at the charts, and they say, delusional, because the moment you can't be measured, you can't be controlled. The healers look at you and they say, awakened, because they recognize that look in your eyes. The one that says you've been through something and you didn't come out soft. You came out sharp. The haters? Oh, the haters are always predictable. They tilt their head, half smile and whisper, scripted, because if they can convince themselves you're fake, they don't have to face the terrifying truth that you did it, with no permission, no applause, no safety net. And your energy doesn't argue. Your energy says, watch me. And I need you to understand something today. When they call you delusional, they're not diagnosing you. They're confessing. They're confessing that your belief scares them, because your belief is a weapon and you're learning how to hold it. See, normal people need proof before they move. They need a guarantee. They need someone with a clipboard to nod at them and say, approved. But you move like someone who already knows what's coming, and that breaks their brain. So they label you. They don't say, I'm afraid you'll outgrow me. They say delusional. They don't say, your confidence exposes my excuses. They say scripted. They don't say, You're reminding me of everything I didn't become. They laugh. They mock. They roll their eyes. They act casual, because if they admitted the truth, they'd have to change. And most people would rather die the same than live different. Let's get real for a second. You know what it feels like to be called delusional. You know that sting, that moment where you're excited, you're finally feeling alive, you're finally building something in your head that makes you want to get out of bed, and somebody cuts you down with one sentence. You're doing too much. Be realistic. Who do you think you are? Stop acting like the main character. They say it like they're helping you. They're not helping you. They're trying to keep you small enough to understand, because your growth makes them feel exposed. Your ambition makes their comfort look like a cage. And they hate cages they didn't choose. So they try to convince you that freedom is a fantasy. Let me tell you the sickest part. The louder they call you delusional, the more they watch your every move. They stalk your progress like it's a show. They pretend they don't care, but they know exactly what you posted, exactly what you started, exactly what you're building. They don't want you to win, but they can't stop watching you try. Because deep down, your effort is the thing they gave up on in themselves. And that's why the scripted accusation is so funny to me. They'll see you show up every day, tired, stressed, broke, doubting yourself, and still keep moving. And instead of being inspired, they call it fake. Because consistency looks unreal to people who live in excuses. Discipline looks unnatural to people addicted to comfort. Your focus looks suspicious to people who can't stay with one thought long enough to finish a sentence without checking their phone. So they call you scripted, as if you're not human, as if you don't feel pain, as if you don't wake up some days and stare at the ceiling, negotiating with your own mind just to get up. No, you're not scripted. You're trained. You've been forced to learn how to move without motivation, how to work while bleeding inside, how to smile at people who don't deserve access to your life. That's not scripted. That's survival turned into strategy. And the AI people, oh, the AI people, the data people, the logic crowd, they love to reduce you. They want you to be a pattern, an algorithm, a predictable little creature that fits in a box. But you're not a box. You're a storm. They'll say, statistically, this won't work. Most people fail. The odds aren't in your favor. And you're supposed to bow to that. You're supposed to kneel before probability like it's a god. Let me ask you something. Since when did you start living your life based on what most people do? Most people stay broke. Most people stay scared. Most people stay in situations that drain them because leaving would mean facing themselves. Most people talk about change like it's a podcast topic, not a decision. So if you're not like most people, why would you accept most people outcomes? The AI people can call you delusional all they want, because there's one thing they can't calculate. They can't measure the moment a human being finally gets fed up. They can't quantify what happens when you hit that point, when your pain stops making you weak and starts making you dangerous. That moment when you stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I don't? Because that question changes everything. What if you don't? What if you stop folding yourself to fit into rooms that were built for smaller minds? What if you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you? What if you stop waiting for a sign and become the sane. See, your energy doesn't need consensus. Your energy needs commitment. And that's why the healers called you awakened. Because awakening isn't candles and quotes and soft music. Awakening is ugly. Awakening is realizing you've been betrayed by your own habits. Awakening is seeing how much time you've wasted trying to be lovable to people who don't even like themselves. Awakening is waking up and admitting, I've been playing small because it keeps me safe. And then deciding, I don't want safe, I want real. Safe is quiet desperation. Safe is settling with a smile. Safe is being nice while your soul rots. Awakened is walking into your life like you own it, even if you're shaking, even if you're not ready, even if your voice cracks, because you're done living like you're on trial. And you know what happens the moment you start acting awakened. People panic, because now you're not begging, you're building. Now you're not chasing, you're choosing. Now you're not asking for a seat, you're making the table. And that's when the haters start talking louder. 'Cause your silence used to make them comfortable. Your compliance used to make them feel in control. But now you've got that look. That I'm not here to be liked look. That I'm not available for your opinion look. That I've suffered enough. Now I'm collecting look. And they'll call it arrogance. Let them. Because confidence always looks like arrogance to someone who needs you to doubt yourself. They'll say you changed. Of course you changed. You were supposed to. You weren't put here to stay the same. You were put here to evolve. And when they say you changed, what they really mean is you stopped being easy to manipulate. Good. Let's talk about the part nobody wants to talk about. The part where you start winning, and it still feels lonely. The part where you realize some people only loved you when you were struggling, when you were humble, when you were relatable, when you weren't threatening. And the moment you start leveling up, they get weird, they get distant, they get passive, they get sarcastic. You'll notice the energy shift. They won't say, I'm proud of you. They'll say, must be nice. Must be nice. Yeah, it is. You know why it's nice? Because you bled for it. Because you stayed up when nobody was clapping. Because you kept going when your mind was a war zone. Because you fought for your future in private. So, yeah, it's nice. And you deserve it. But hear me, don't get addicted to proving people wrong. That's still letting them control you. You're not doing this to win an argument. You're doing this to become undeniable. Undeniable means you don't need them to agree. Undeniable means you don't need their approval. Undeniable means their opinions bounce off you like cheap rubber. Because your life is too expensive to be guided by broke opinions. Now, I need you to look at your own patterns. Be honest. How many times have you watered down your dreams just to avoid the side eye? How many times did you lower your voice, shrink your presence, soften your ambition, because you didn't want people to think you were doing too much? You know what too much really means? It means you're too much for them, too much for their comfort, too much for their limits, too much for the version of you they memorized. And you are not obligated to stay compatible with people who refuse to grow. That's a trap. Compatibility is not your purpose. Transformation is. And transformation comes with friction. So when they call you delusional, let it hit you for 1 second. Feel it, then turn it into fuel. Because delusional is just a word people use when they see someone acting like the future is already real. And you know what the future needs? People who are willing to look crazy before they look correct. Every breakthrough looked like madness before it looked like history. So stop defending yourself. Stop writing essays in your head to convince people who already decided. Stop trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need a jury. You need momentum. Now let's talk about scripted. Because this one is hilarious. They watch you show up, show out, and stay consistent, and they can't compute it. So they reduce it to something fake. But what they're really saying is, I can't imagine having your discipline. I can't imagine not giving up. I can't imagine being that locked in. So they call you scripted. Fine. If they want to believe you're scripted, become a horror movie for their expectations. Make your routine so ruthless that it looks supernatural. Make your progress so steady it looks suspicious. Make your transformation so real that they start questioning their own reality. Because the truth is, most people don't hate you. They hate how your existence makes them feel. They hate that your grind makes their laziness loud. They hate that your focus exposes their distractions. They hate that your courage makes their fear look childish. And instead of rising, they criticize. Instead of learning, they mock, because mocking is cheaper than changing. But you're not cheap. You're not easy. You're not available for the lazy way out anymore. And I want you to remember this today. They don't get to name you. They can label you all day. Delusional, scripted, too intense, too much, too different, too loud, too quiet, too confident, too cold. Let them talk. Labels are what people use when they don't have access, and they don't have access to you anymore. Because you're done being a public property. You're done being everybody's emotional punching bag. You're done being the person who always understands. Today, you understand something new. Your kindness doesn't require self-betrayal. Your empathy doesn't require self-neglect. Your love doesn't require self-destruction. You can be a good person and still be a dangerous person. Dangerous not because you hurt people. Dangerous because you don't fold. Dangerous because you don't break. Dangerous because you don't stop. Now, here's the part where it gets real personal. There's a voice in your head. You know the one. The voice that shows up when you're alone. The voice that says, "Who do you think you are?" The voice that says, "What if you embarrass yourself?" The voice that says, "You're not ready." That voice isn't truth. That voice is a collection of old memories, old rejections, old failures, old humiliations, old moments where you tried and somebody laughed. That voice is trauma wearing your voice. And today, you're going to stop mistaking it for you. Because you're not that scared kid anymore. You're not that broken version anymore. You're not that person who needed permission anymore. You're someone else now. And that's why your energy is saying, "Watch me." Because watch me is not a request. It's a warning. It means I'm done negotiating with my fear. I'm done waiting for perfect conditions. I'm done performing confidence while secretly doubting myself. Watch me means you're going to move even when your hands shake, even when nobody texts back, even when the support is silent, even when you don't feel inspired, because you finally realized the cheat code. The world doesn't reward potential. The world rewards proof. So give it proof, not by talking, by doing, not by arguing, by building, not by explaining, by becoming. And when you start becoming, the whole atmosphere changes. People who used to ignore you start asking questions. People who used to mock you start copying you. People who used to act too busy start checking in, and you're going to feel that weird moment. That moment where you realize they don't actually care how you're doing. They care that you're doing it. They care that you're rising. They care that you didn't stay in the box they assigned you. So don't give them your heart. Give them your results. Let them hear about you through outcomes. Let them learn your name through impact. Let them feel you through the ripple effect of your decisions. Because the strongest revenge isn't hurting them. The strongest revenge is outgrowing them so hard they can't even recognize the version of you they used to control. Now listen closely. This is where most people mess up. They start winning, and they start talking. They start posting, and they start bragging. They start performing for the crowd. Don't do that. Move like a ghost with a plan. Quiet, surgical, consistent. Let the glow-up be so loud that your silence becomes the loudest thing in the room. Let the work be so undeniable that nobody can argue with it. Because arguments are for people who don't have results. You're not here to convince. You're here to collect. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine waking up 6 months from now, and you're not the same. Your body feels different. Your mind feels sharper. Your bank account looks different. Your boundaries are solid. Your standards are higher. You walk into spaces and people feel it. They feel that you don't need them. They feel that you chose yourself. And that scares them. Not because you became cruel, but because you became free. Freedom is terrifying to people who live in cages. So they'll test you, they'll poke you, they'll send little comments, little jokes, little concerns. Are you okay? You've been distant. You're acting different. You think you're better than us? Here's what you do. You don't react. You don't explain. You don't argue. You just keep upgrading. Because the best answer is always your life. And if they can't handle the new you, that's not your tragedy. That's their withdrawal. They were addicted to your old self. The version that overgave. The version that over-explained. The version that tolerated disrespect because you were scared to be alone. You're not that person today. Today you are someone who understands the exchange rate of your energy. You don't spend it on nonsense anymore. You don't donate it to people who drain you. You don't loan it to people who never pay you back. You invest it. And investment takes time. So if you're in that season right now where it feels slow, good. Slow means roots. Slow means foundation. Slow means you're building something that won't collapse the moment life hits. And life will hit. Life always hits. But this time, when it hits, it's going to hit steel, because you are learning how to turn pain into precision. You are learning how to turn anger into action. You are learning how to turn rejection into redirection. You are learning how to turn loneliness into focus. You are learning how to stop needing people to see you, because you see you, and that changes everything. Now let's talk about the awakened part again, because awakening comes with a cost. When you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. When you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. You start noticing who only calls when they need something. You start noticing who disappears when you need support. You start noticing who smiles in your face, but secretly hopes you fail. And at first, it's going to hurt, because you wanted it to be different. You wanted the people around you to be real. But here's the twist. That pain is your upgrade. It's your filter. It's your eyes opening. It's your spirit finally refusing to be lied to. So don't numb it. Don't run from it. Use it. Let it teach you. Let it sharpen you. Because once you're awakened, You become allergic to nonsense. You can't fake laugh at disrespect. You can't pretend you're okay with being undervalued. You can't keep shrinking. And that's why they'll call you delusional again. Because your standards are rising. Because your boundaries are getting solid. Because you're not available for the old games. And that's when you hit them with your energy. Not your mouth, your energy. The kind of energy that walks into a room and doesn't chase attention, but attention starts chasing it. The kind of energy that doesn't beg for love, but love starts getting nervous. The kind of energy that doesn't ask to be chosen, because it chooses. That's watch me energy. Watch me energy is quiet confidence mixed with violent commitment. It's you waking up and saying, I don't care how I feel, I care what I do. It's you doing the hard thing even when nobody's watching. It's you staying loyal to your future self. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but what if I really am delusional? Good. Let that question sit. Because here's the truth. Delusion is believing you can have a better life without changing anything. Delusion is expecting respect while tolerating disrespect. Delusion is wanting growth while avoiding discomfort. You're not delusional. You're daring. You're deciding. You're taking the risk of becoming. And that risk is what separates the ones who talk from the ones who transform. So I want you to make a vow today. A quiet vow. No announcement, no performance. A vow that says, I'm going to become so consistent that my doubt gets bored and leaves. I'm going to become so disciplined that my excuses start sounding embarrassing. I'm going to become so focused that distractions feel like insults. I'm going to become so strong that my past self would cry from relief. And when the AI people call you delusional, you don't defend yourself, you outwork the label. When the healers call you awakened, you don't romanticize it, you honor it. You act like someone who knows they don't get unlimited time. When the haters call you scripted, you don't get emotional, you get sharper. You get colder with your boundaries and warmer with your mission. You stop bleeding for people who clap only when you fall. And then comes the moment you've been waiting for. Not the viral moment, not the applause moment, the real moment. The moment you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the old you. The moment you realize you don't need their validation anymore. The moment you realize you can stand alone and still feel powerful. That's the moment you stop being a person with a dream and you become the dream walking. And that's when your energy says it again, not as a phrase, as a reality. Watch me. Watch me choose myself, even when it costs me people. Watch me stay consistent even when I'm tired. Watch me keep my word to myself.
Hello, my dear mastermind. They said it softly at first, like a rumor that did not know how to stand on its own legs. Something is different about them. A whisper, a shrug, a tone dipped in uncertainty. Like their minds could not sync with what they were sensing. But that was just the beginning, was it not? Because the moment that unseen presence took a closer look at you, really analyzed you, everything shifted like a light flicking on in a locked room. A presence older than unease, wiser than their logic, quieter than any intuition they ever trusted, leaned forward and studied your aura like it had found something rare. And in that silence, it confirmed what destiny always knew. You were not built to blend in. You were built for the crown. It was not the kind of crown they show in stories. Not gold, not heavy, not worn to be admired. No, your crown is not made of metal. It is forged out of evolution. It is the authority that comes from surviving seasons they could not even pronounce. It is the gravity that pulls truth out of liars without you saying a word. It is the resilience that adjusts reality instead of asking for its approval. And the presence that scanned your energy saw all of that. Saw the chapters you never talk about. Saw the hurdles you carried alone. Saw the nights you stayed quiet while your spirit rewired itself into something unstoppable. And before anyone else knew, that presence nodded. Like royalty recognizing royalty. People around you felt it, even if they could not explain it. They felt something shift in your frequency. They felt the altitude in your energy rise. They felt the weight behind your footsteps change from steady survival to natural command. And their reactions were wild. Some paused, some tightened up, some pretended nothing happened, while their inner system sent alerts. Because the truth is simple. When a power beyond human logic studies you and decides you are meant for the crown, everyone who tried to define you suddenly runs out of vocabulary. They cannot categorize you. They cannot predict you. They cannot dismiss you. They cannot copy you. The crown rewrites everything. But here is what really unsettled them. You did not ask for this. You did not chase it. You did not try to be chosen. You simply evolved. Quietly, naturally, consistently. And the presence that scanned your aura was not judging. It was verifying. It was confirming that the path you walk, the intuition you carry, the instincts you follow, the quiet way you move, are not accidents. They are signals of someone built for leadership they never trained for. Presence they never studied. Depth they never prepared to confront. You did not earn the crown through approval. You became the crown through transformation. So when that presence leaned back and its verdict echoed through the unseen world, this one is built differently. Everything aligned. Doors that resisted you began to shift open. People who overlooked you suddenly started over-explaining themselves. The energy in every room tilted in your direction like gravity correcting itself, and they all sensed it at the same time. You were not rising. You had already risen, and now reality was simply catching up. They did not understand why the atmosphere shifted when you walked in. They could not explain why conversations slowed, why glances sharpened, why even the loudest personalities suddenly softened around you. They kept telling themselves it was coincidence, that maybe they were imagining the weight in your silence. But a deeper part of them, instinctive and ancient, knew the truth far earlier than their minds did. Their intuition whispered, "Something strong is standing here." And that whisper did not come from concern. It came from recognition. The recognition of someone whose energy had been acknowledged by spaces they do not even believe in. When that presence studied your aura, it did not just scan your glow, it scanned your layers, your timelines, your rebuilds, your choices. It scanned the moments you held your composure when life tried to distract you. It scanned the patterns you dissolved, the people you outgrew, the silence you mastered. And while the world saw just another person, the unseen saw a being who kept evolving, even when no one was watching. In that moment, your story stopped being ordinary Your path stopped being predictable, and you stepped into the category of chosen ones who did not ask for it, but became it through growth. They did not announce. People around you felt that chosen energy instantly, even if they did not have the words for it. Some felt unsettled without knowing why. Some felt drawn to you like gravity rearranged itself. Some felt revealed, because standing near someone who has faced their own reality makes others see theirs more clearly. And the most insecure ones? They tried to shift the narrative. They tried to downplay you. They tried to speak over you. They tried to pretend your presence did not affect them. But that is the issue with energy that has already been acknowledged by higher purpose. It does not negotiate its impact. And here is what unsettles them most. You did not change for attention. You did not grow for applause. You did not elevate to impress anyone. You evolved because your inner calling demanded more from you than comfort, and you listened. You evolved because life pushed you into versions of yourself you once feared, but met anyway. You evolved because the road ahead required a stronger version of you than the road behind ever did. And while they judged your steps, you were quietly building a frequency they could never copy. Now they react to that frequency without even realizing it. They notice the calm in your posture, the precision in your words, the awareness in your eyes. They notice how you do not chase, how you do not cling, how you do not try to convince anyone of your worth. They notice how you move like someone who trusts themselves more than the world. They notice the authority you carry without ever raising your voice. And they are confused because for the first time, you are not responding from old emotions. You are responding from a place of stability. But the deeper shift came when that unseen presence examined you and did not correct you, did not warn you, did not question you. It confirmed you. It placed an unseen mark of alignment on your energy, and that subtle imprint changed everything. It made people treat your silence like a message, your presence like a reminder, your choices like signals from a higher blueprint. They do not know how to interpret someone who moves like purpose already approved them. They do not know how to deal with someone whose aura carries a certainty beyond human validation. And that confusion, that hesitation, that quiet awe follows you everywhere now, because they finally sense the truth. You are built for elevation, and their world is adjusting around you. They keep trying to pinpoint the moment you shifted. The exact second your presence stopped matching their expectations and started matching something greater. Some think it was a single decision, others think it was a sudden rise in confidence. But the truth is quieter and far more powerful. You outgrew the version of yourself they were comfortable underestimating. Your evolution was not one moment. It was a series of silent upgrades. Small choices, steady steps, personal rewrites that no one paid attention to. Subtle decisions stacked over time until your aura no longer reflected who you used to be, but who you were always meant to become. That is why the unseen presence did not hesitate when it examined you. It recognized someone who endured challenges without becoming defined by them. Someone who carried difficulties without projecting them. Someone who chose discipline when ease offered shortcuts. Someone who learned patience while others relied on excuses. Most people move through life reacting to every trigger, every rumor, every insecurity. But you learn to pause, observe, understand. You learn to break old patterns instead of repeating them. That form of self-control is rare, and rare energy creates an impact that even higher forces acknowledge. People judge behavior. You focus on intention. People analyze the past. You design the future. People look for patterns. You look for alignment, purpose, direction. They look at the blueprint behind your actions, the strength you built in private, the loyalty you kept, even when it was not returned, the moments you could have turned distant, but chose resilience instead. That is why your story reads like a living archive. Everything you released, everything you overcame, everything you refused to become, it all shaped your frequency. And that frequency became too refined, too centered, too elevated to be ignored. Now look at the people around you. Look at how they act without knowing why. Suddenly they choose their words more carefully. Suddenly they adjust their tone. Suddenly they give you a level of respect they never offered before. They call it maturity, but the truth is simpler. They sense the elevation. They feel the shift. They notice the authority in your silence. Your presence forces them to confront how little they have grown. And nothing humbles an insecure person more than realizing someone kept evolving while they stayed the same. You did not ask for this reaction. You did not demand it. You did not force it. You simply became someone who cannot be dismissed anymore. Someone whose aura speaks before any word leaves your mouth. Someone whose energy enters first and quietly rearranges the dynamic. That is why they look at you differently now. Some with admiration, some with hesitation, some with quiet discomfort. They pretend not to feel. Deep down, each of them knows the truth. When your energy shifted, you stopped standing beside them. You started standing above the level they assumed you shared. But here is the twist. Destiny kept hidden. The crown was not given to you. It grew on you, piece by piece, lesson by lesson, shift by shift. You did not inherit authority. You shaped it. You did not inherit respect. You earned it. You did not inherit strength. You built it from every moment. Life pulled you forward when comfort asked you to stay still. That is why your presence carries a signature they cannot match. It is not borrowed, it is earned. And now, that unseen presence that examined your aura understands exactly what you carry. It knows your future reflects your resilience, not your past. It knows your path expands with every step you take. It knows you are stepping into a role that waited for you long before anyone doubted you. That is why people watch you, like you are the plot twist in their story. That is why they observe instead of interrupt. That is why they hesitate instead of approaching. Because deep down, they feel it. You are not rising. You already rose, and the world is just catching up. They keep replaying old versions of you in their mind, like outdated programs, hoping those memories will help them understand the person you became. But every time they try to compare who you were with who you are now, everything collapses. The timeline does not match. The transition is too precise, too intentional, too aligned to explain with simple words like luck or timing. They never witnessed the nights you repaired your mindset alone. They never saw the moments you chose clarity over comfort, elevation over excuses, peace over attention. That is why their reactions feel intense. Some stare like they are seeing a sudden shift. Some speak gently, like you can see through their layers. Some keep their distance, because being near you reveals their own unspoken discomfort. They call you different, but different is too small of a word. You did not just grow. You moved into a higher version of yourself, one they were never prepared to meet. And people who did not grow with you always feel unsettled by the new level you stand on. The unseen presence that evaluated your aura understood something instantly. It saw that your actions come from awareness, not from attitude, from intention, not from reaction, from clarity, not from ego. People forget how powerful a grounded mind can be. They forget that someone who knows their own value cannot be swayed by opinions. That is why your presence unsettles them now. You are not driven by outside noise. You are guided by internal direction, the kind that grows only through discipline and alignment. That presence recognized that your choices are not shaped by chaos. They are shaped by purpose. You do not move to impress. You move to evolve. You do not chase validation. You follow clarity. You do not entertain inconsistencies. You honor your standards. Nothing threatens the uncertain more than someone who knows exactly what they bring, what they protect, what they refuse to allow. That is why your aura felt sacred during that evaluation. It reflected someone who has finally claimed their own identity. People often forget that crowns are not made from praise. They are made from perseverance. Crowns are shaped in solitude, in decisions that required strength. In the moments you chose growth, when comfort was easier, in every time you walked away from what tried to pull you backward. Your aura carries the imprint of someone who rebuilt themselves through steady effort, through sharp awareness, through calm consistency. That is the frequency they keep sensing, the shift they cannot define, the energy they cannot imitate. Your calm exposes their disorganization. Your presence reveals their masks. Your growth reveals their avoidance. This is why their reactions seem strange, why their tone shifts, why their energy becomes scattered. When someone rises with intention, it highlights everything the other person refuses to heal. And people have always feared those who make them confront their own unfinished paths. You do not call out their patterns. Your elevation does it for you. They keep watching your reactions, your silence, your tone, trying to see if you still need their approval. But every time they look, they see something unsettling. You are done seeking what they never had the capacity to offer. Your silence is not passive. It is decisive. It means you are no longer participating in conversations that drain you, no longer matching energy that lacks depth, no longer entertaining dynamics that do not align with your direction. Your silence is your crown, placed quietly where it belongs, steady, unmistakable, respected. Your silence now carries intention. It carries the kind of focus that only appears when someone finally understands their own worth. Your quiet does not signal distance. It signals direction. You no longer argue with people who stay committed to misunderstanding you. You no longer offer explanations to individuals who are not listening. Your silence speaks clearly. It says, I have already stepped beyond this level. Your energy is no longer spent on the wrong conversations. Your presence reflects the calm confidence of someone who chooses clarity over noise. They feel the distance you created out of protection, not pride. They sense the shift in your voice, your intentions, your choices. And deep down, even the ones who doubted you know the truth. Once your aura settled into this frequency, there was no version of you they could guide anymore. They can analyze you. but they cannot understand you. They can watch you, but they cannot predict you. They can observe you, but they cannot influence you. Because once your essence was recognized by a higher standard, the world had no option but to adjust around you. They thought your solitude would reduce you. They thought your silence would weaken you. They thought your quiet seasons meant you were lost. But solitude did not break you. It restored you. It became the space where you gathered every part of yourself. They tried to scatter. While they assumed you were waiting for someone to choose you, you were choosing yourself, piece by piece, truth by truth, until your confidence no longer needed approval to stand tall. You were not sitting in the dark hoping. You were building in the dark, preparing. You built your inner throne in silence, and now it shows. Your transformation was not grown from their acceptance. It was grown from your refusal to settle. Your presence carries an identity that no longer bends to old dynamics. They try approaching you with former versions of themselves, former approaches, former tones, but nothing lands, nothing works, nothing resonates. Because the person they built their expectations around no longer exists. They prepared for your past, not your present. And when someone evolves faster than the assumptions placed on them, it leaves others unprepared, even unsteady. Their old strategies fall apart. Their attempts to influence fall silent. Their judgments no longer reach you. Their projections no longer hold weight. For the first time, they realize something that unsettles them deeply. Nothing they say can shift your inner balance anymore. Nothing they do can redirect your path. You are no longer shaped by their tone, their mood, or their stories. And that realization leaves them without the influence they once depended on. Your stability became your power. Your clarity became your shield. Your focus no longer bends around other people's uncertainty. You stopped shaping yourself to fit rooms that never expanded for you. You stopped waiting for validation that never existed. You stopped hesitating when choices called for confidence. And now, instead of wondering how others see you, you wonder how you see yourself. Instead of seeking permission, you move with quiet certainty. Decisions no longer require an audience. Your growth no longer waits for applause. And this new level of personal authority unsettles anyone who depended on your old habits. What truly shakes people now is simple. You move with intention they cannot follow. You speak with assurance they did not expect. You walk like someone who carries the backing of alignment, not approval. You operate like destiny stands beside you, not ahead of you. The maturity in your tone, the direction in your choices, the balance in your emotions, none of it is accidental. All of it is earned. You paid the full price for this version of yourself. And now you move with a certainty they cannot imitate. You act like someone who already crossed the inner thresholds others are still searching for. And now the world is adjusting to the truth, the unseen already confirmed. People no longer approach you casually. They approach with caution. Respect, hesitation, even curiosity. They are not just observing you. They are recalibrating around you, because your presence is no longer something they influence. It is something they respond to. The crown you carry was not handed to you. It was earned in silence, shaped in solitude, and sealed by a higher recognition long before anyone else noticed. Let them whisper. Let them analyze. Let them struggle to understand the shift they feel when you enter a room. They will never fully decode it. They do not need to. All they must know is this: you are no longer the version they underestimated. You are no longer the story they tried to write. You are the force they now must acknowledge. And the crown? It did not arrive. It was always yours. You simply grew into it,